Shvetashvatara Upanishad, fourth chapter, eighth verse, page 148. The Vedas are established on the imperishable supreme space where all the gods dwell. What will one achieve through the Vedas who does not know it? Those who know it does. They who are such remain self fulfilled. Richo akshare parame vyoman yasmin deva adivishve nisheduhu. Yastham na veda kim richa karishyati. Ya ittad vidusta ime samasate. So we have you comfortable?
Oh, am I in the wrong spot?
No, perfectly.
Oh, the door. Yeah.
The mantra we are taking now, and it says it is actually once again uh, an old mantra from the Rig Veda has been hauled and slightly modified by this Svetashvatra Rishi. He says the Vedas are established on the imperishable supreme space where all the gods dwell. Now, like the previous verses, you find he played with the word unborn, which also means a goat. Aja, the goat and Aja also means unborn. So here also, the Rishi is playing with two meanings in the sense of he's speaking of it as imperishable, akshara. And akshara also means a syllable. And the best syllable is oh. That. So it comes from the word kshara. Kshara means that which dissipates, that which transforms. And akshara means that which does not transform, that does not modify. So he's saying the Vedas are established, and this is one meaning, and the other meaning is the reality is designated as imperishable. Akshara, that which is imperishable. Now, the Vedas are established in this imperishable reality. Now, what do you mean? Yeah, he further goes and says that not only Vedas, everything dwell. Says, what will one achieve through the Vedas? Like, there is a, but if you don't have devotion to the Guru, it's all useless. Tata kim, tata kim, tata. So, now Vedas means it is not meant the books. Vedas are four in number. It wasn't four, it was a mass of literature which one sage and his disciples went around the country, collated whatever was there, and made a kind of a division between this verse and that verse. Some verses were simply in kind of meter, so he collected them in Rig Veda. And some of the verses which can be sung, he made it in the Sam Veda. And Atharva Veda and Yajur Veda. Does it mean books? No, the accumulated knowledge, super sensuous knowledge. By Vedas, Swami Vivekananda says no books are meant. He uses the illustration of gravity existed before Newton discovered it. So these spiritual laws They are self-existent, and those people who discover those laws are called the rishis. Rishis are those who see the mantras or seers of mantras. Rishi, that's the meaning of the word rishi. So, and I have met people who have seen mantras in shining golden letters. In fact, Swami Vivekananda makes a statement, I have seen the mantras in shining, luminous, golden letters there. So there are this knowledge is pre-existing, and there are some persons who have fitted themselves through purity and through concentration to intuit, to see. They see this mantra and then they come down and saying, yeah, this is what I saw, what I heard. And then he passes on to his disciples, and the disciples passes on to the disciples, a whole long chain which went on for more than 4,000 years, kind of an oral tradition. Then Ved Vyasa, that is a compiler, they say, of the Vedas, he said, wait. These things are getting lost. Because certain, you can say, class of people or people living in a particular village, they are all wiped out due to a plague or a kind of a disaster. And with them, that knowledge also has gone. So what Vedavyasa did was, then he, through his meditation, he recovered the lost portions of those Vedas, which became the Mahabharata, but he put it in a kind of a story form. So that's why the Mahabharata is called the fifth Veda. There's a huge, you can say, there was a father tells the son, mother tells the children this, your grandfather was like this, and then we had heard about this, and then they keep on there in front of the fireplace was born these traditions. It's passing from one generation to another. So these Vedas were then written down. So what do you mean by Veda? Veda means to know, with. It is, say, the mind of God. In fact, the orthodox, very orthodox, you can say, people, they say everything is created out of the Vedas. Why is a tree out here? Because tree is mentioned in the Vedas. That was the strength of that orthodoxy. My God, it was terrible at times. Oh yes, and Vivekananda speaks about it. It's like people read these hymns, and just the kind of hymns to the king of the gods and the god of fire and wind and this and that, and just simple people poetry. But it's not simple as it seems, because like you have in the Kabbalah, there's a mystical element in those writings in the Torah. You've got to understand that mystical tradition in order to understand those simple texts. So after the first memorization, like in India, we have something called, even today, we have surnames ending with Chaturvedi, Trivedi, Dvivedi. That is those who study the four Vedas, Chaturvedi, Trivedi, three Vedas, Dvivedi, two Vedas. That is, you ask them, hey, have you memorized the whole thing? The three Vedas? No, my ancestors were good at that. I've just retained those surnames now. And we have like acharyas and upadhyas, the teachers of Vedas. So we are now left with a remnant of those old. But of course, there's again a kind of a revival. But until unless you don't know the mystical tradition behind those simple words, it becomes extremely difficult to interpret it. These are spiritual laws that govern the spiritual world. And it's very clear that in the first part of the Vedas was the ritualistic section, and the second part was the knowledge section. So that's why the Vedas are divided into three parts, two parts, the, the ritual section and knowledge. The Upanishads come in the knowledge section, Jnana Kanda and Karma Kanda. So, so where is this Vedas? They say Vedas are established on that imperishable supreme space. Now, one we can now we say the Vedas means okay, the accumulated spiritual laws that govern this universe. Where are they established? In that supreme space, which is Akshara. Where is that Akshara? Through all the Upanishadic literature, it's saying it is in your heart. There. Here is that supreme space. And if you enter into it, you will see the whole universe in that, floating in that space. That's why it's called supreme. But what about this? This space is called the Maha Akash, the great space. Then you have something called the Chitta Akash, that is the space of the cosmic mind. Like we are situated here in space and in time. For the mind also to be situated has to be in within space and time. Yes, I have a mind. Then you are situated in a space time, but that's it's a mental space time. You cannot have something just hanging about without any dimensions around to express it or to explain it or contain it. So the mind also exists in space, but that's a different space. This is the elemental space, this is the mind space, Chitta. And these Vedas, where do they exist? It is called Chidakash, knowledge space. So this knowledge space is here. I mean, you can catch it here in that. So what is this space? It is knowledge. Pure consciousness is another word for that. So these three spaces, like again, they are not external or internal. They are all curled within one within the other. It's Akash. Akash. We leave some time later for questions. So let's keep on. So in this space, Akash, those Vedas are established. And not only the Vedas, all the gods which are mentioned in the Vedas are also there in that space. And actually, it's not only the Vedas and the gods and the goddesses, but we too actually exist in that space in pure consciousness. Yeah. So you're saying then the second part of the verse is, what will one achieve through the Vedas? One who does not know this imperishable supreme space. It's like Sri Ramakrishna says a parrot has been trained to chant the names of the Lord, and then Radha Krishna, and then a cat comes in and it starts squawking like a parrot. It forgets all about the Lord's name. So, what will simple memorization on learning the Vedas and all these things do if you don't know that pure consciousness, which is the root of everything? So, from pure consciousness has arisen the knowledge, and from knowledge has arisen this whole universe. Wonderful. So, we are here in that space. Yeah, we have to be in that space. It cannot be detached from you. You have to be a part of that. The whole universe has to be embedded in that. Otherwise, you'll have something which is not real, the universe, something different. So uh, we bring that God back in the universe. So Swami Vivekananda says uh, there was an attempt at a personal God in the Vedas. You know, we have various deities, and then we had the God of gods, and then they wanted to make that deity the best and the greatest and the oldest and everything, and but the Upanishads come and pushes them out of that throne and establishes it in every heart. They pull that God down, bring him in the universe, and bring out the individual soul and show that it's not individual, it's cosmic, it's a universal soul. So he's saying the Upanishads trace the, you can say, the map of metaphysical thought. The personal God is broken down and made it impersonal, and the personal man is broken down and made impersonal. And final convergence comes in the Upanishad, the impersonal God approaching the impersonal man, and both unite. And that is a Tattvamasi. You are that. So there. When one time Swami Vivekananda, he was lecturing, and then suddenly quiet. He said, "I am God." And you cannot see that. I mean, uh, it's very difficult for people. What is so? Here we have this idea the Vedas are established and all these things, and then in that supreme space. And if you don't know that reality, there's no point in you studying all these. In fact, there's a story in the Chandogya Upanishad. A young man, he studies the Vedas and he returns home after 24 years of study. That was a kind of advanced course. Yeah. First 12 years, and then after you have a second year, 20. So they used to go at around 4 5 years old. So he's come back, and his father looks at him and saying, he's got that kind of pride. He's nice, a big Vedic scholar." And his father says, "Have you asked by knowing which you know everything?" "No, sir, I don't. I don't. I haven't asked. I don't know. The teachers never taught me." And then that was another huge, you can say, insult. You can't insult your teachers by saying he probably did not know. How? Say the fault is yours. So then he begged forgiveness and said, "You teach me." And then the father teaches. That's a Tattvamasi Sweta Ketu. That boy's name was Sweta Ketu. Father was Gautama. You are that. And it's a long, 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 long discourse. So that's you must know by that by knowing which you know everything. This is that. So if you don't know that reality, what's the point in you knowing this, that? Swami Vivekananda's brother disciple, Swami Vijnananda, he was studying Immanuel Kant and Schopenhauer and all these German philosophers. And he asked Sri Ramakrishna, "Have you read all these? Hey, throw those books out. They're all written in ignorance." Because these books were written in a state of unenlightenment. You're using your intellect to dissect and bisect and try to lay down a kind of a thesis. Someone else with a brighter intellect will come and smash the whole thing up. So it was the Upanishads, and like Shri Ramakrishna was saying, They relied first on direct experience. You experience that, and all the Upanishadic literature was this. You experience that, and then you philosophize later. Huh. Yeah, I've seen that. In this, we have seen that Vedahametam Purusham. I know that supreme reality. He says, I've seen it. Now, what do you say about this guy, this rishi? I've seen it. You're going to dispute, saying, what you realized was wrong. So that's the reason why he's saying those who know it does, that is the imperishable reality. Those who are such people remain self-fulfilled, and obviously, you can self-fulfill in the sense of what self? Yeah, they don't need anything. Nothing, nothing in this universe can ever shake them. So once you're established in that state, Gurunapi Vichalyat, even the heaviest of afflictions cannot move you. Besides, you identify yourself with the body, very vague manner, because you are now identifying yourself with all creation. Yes, that's a wonderful state. What you become self-fulfilled. It's not, oh, I wanted a car and I've got a car, now I'm satisfied. And somebody comes and bumps into your car and then all your fulfillment has dissipated. So this kind of self-fulfillment is you become the universe there. And that is the state of realization. So the next verse continues in the same strain, page 149. The Vedas, sacrifices, kratus, I'll explain that later, vows, the past, the future, the present, and all those which the Vedas speak of are from that imperishable reality. The ruler of Maya projects this world, and because of Maya, it becomes bound in it as a separate entity, as it were. That's his sin. Now, when Swami Vivekananda, I am God. What? Okay. So here they say, as a separate entity, as it were. The Vedanta is like, nice to hear and so easy and this and that, but people don't realize the implications that you are that divine, and you were the divine, you will be the divine, and now what? You are the divine. But what about my individuality? When you were young, you thought in one way. Yesterday also you were thinking of something. Your individuality has been constantly in changing. What kind of individuality is that? That itself, this whole universe, whatever we see, whatever we don't see, is that reality. What about me? You drop that me and drop that mind, and you'll see everything as that. So the implications are tremendous for that person. Huh, what? Yes, that's the way it is. So the illusion and this and that aside, here it is. What about freedom? You are thinking yourself bound. The divine cannot weep, the divine cannot be bound. This is the highest truth. So, what do we need to do? Recognize it. Recognize our own divinity. It's only me? No, everything. Everything is that divine. What about God? There is no God separate from this. So, here he's saying, The Vedas and the sacrifice, it's yajnaha. Uh, there were two types of sacrifices. We have a fire sacrifice here after the main worship is done. It, it's an old Vedic ritual, modified slightly. Mm, in the old days, there were two types of sacrifice. One was sacrifices without that, there was a stake, you know, placed or put in the ground near the sacrifice. That was called a Brahmastamba. In later days, it was made into a kind of a Shiva, a symbol of Shiva. So those sacrifices without that stake were called yagnas. And Kratu was an older form of those sacrifices with the stake. And it was here that the goat or the sheep or the sacrificial animal was tied to it. That stake. This morning we are talking about sacrificial animals. And then you find that in all cultures they had this kind of sacrifice everywhere. Uh, so these anthropologists have been studying these kind of sheep or goat sacrifices and find them all over. Ah, yeah. Mm, yeah, there was it was a universal, you can say, thing that's going on. So the Vratani vows, like take for instance, mm, you keep fasting according to the phases of the moon, Chandra. As it keeps on waxing or waning, you increase or reduce your food. That was like I'm going to repeat my mantra 10,000 times this morning. Kind of a wow. Uh, it burns away sins, they say. So that's why these vows are called, you can say, uh, expiatory karma, prashchitta karma. So it doesn't matter. Whatever has come from, is come from the directions or the the rules for all these things are in the Vedas. And then also bhutam bhavyam cha. What was in the past, what will be in the future, and it also implies what is in the present. All this is saying what the Vedas speak of. Now, what happens is, mm, these cyclic creations have been going on for we don't know how long. It has transcended time. We do not say it started at this point of time. Then we'll have to say at this point of time it also ended, because what the starting and the ending point is the same in the Vedas, because time is cyclic. It's not a kind of arrow of time going shooting up there. Uh, yeah. So everything is cyclic, and they saw nature. Everything moves in cycles. That seed is born from the tree, and from the seed again the tree emerges, and then mountains are eroded by the rivers, and then it piles up, and other mountains are built up by it. So everything starts with small forms, and everything moves in cycles. So they found that everything is moving in cycles. They said, don't pin a starting point here. Get out of this circle if you want to. That was called a samsara, the wheel of get out of it, because it does not end. If creation ends, then creator will have to end, because you cannot have a creator without a creation. You cannot have a God doing nothing. What was he doing? He's taking a break. Really? God takes a break. So we don't want such a God who takes a break. He starts his whole rubbish and then he's taking a break. God, put him back into creation. So it is God who projects itself and then once again goes back into the finer form. Projection and the evolution and involution. It's going on and on and on. So it has been in this age, you will have this age is called a Swayambhuva Manu. This is the age of one Manu. That's the creator. We have plenty of creators, not sub creators. These tasks are delegated to these guys. So there's a Manu, Manvantara. This is the age of Manu, and this is a Swayambhuva Manu. So his name is Swayambhuva. So this creation is his, you can say, jurisdiction, and he's looking after the whole thing. He's not God, but he's a great sage, more than a sage, of course. Yeah, don't get confused with all this Hindu, you can say, cyclic creation and you can say theology. But yes, everything has emerged out of the Vedas, everything, including the sacrifices. And we won't go into that, but just mention the one of the very famous hymns called the Purusha Sukta is like gods they sacrificed, and from that sacrifice emerged everything. There are other passages in the Vedas like these are the breath of the infinite. This whole universe comes out like a breath of the infinite. Then we have something like when you have wet faggots and you have fire, and the fuel is like damp, and you get a lot of smoke and sparks, and flames, and all. So this whole universe has come out from like that. Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvangira, Shiksha, Kalpa, this is everything. Everything has come out from that main fire from the imperishable. These were just kind of illustration. These sages were very simple people, they were poets rather, not simple poets, and they gave those truths in very simple language. The philosophers later came and made it a big confusing mess. And then you need to have to study these philosophers. They study the terms and try to make sense of the philosophy. Those guys just they saw it and they said it, you know. And that's the reason. That's an advantage of going to the text as they are, the canon. It's very simple. So it's just poetry.
The Big Bang.
Oh yeah. And that's why the rishis, those seers of mantras, all also called kavis. That is poets. Yeah. In fact, the whole Vedic literature is nothing but poetry. So in the next verse, we'll get Chandansi. That is, they are in different meters. That's why they're called. And then he's saying, yeah, the ruler of this Maya projects this world. And because of Maya, it becomes bound in it as a separate entity. Now, who is that? It is that one reality that appears as many. The one reality is appearing as many. So, the idea when the one becomes a many, how does it become many? Through that. The ruler of Maya. Maya is what it hides as well as reveals. So, why ruler? Because Maya cannot delude that. This is this Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of a snake. Uh, the venom does not harm the snake, it can harm others. So, like you have a body. You don't say I'm a body. Nobody says I'm a body. I have a body. My body, I'm not feeling well. This, that. So the Lord also has got limiting. He's limiting adjunct. Like the body is our limiting adjunct. This whole universe is a limiting adjunct of that reality. So yeah. So they're saying Chandans Yagna Kratavo Vratani Bhutam Bhavyam Yatcha Veda Vadanti Asmad Mai Sajati Vishwamita. This ruler of Maya projects. There's no creation. The word creation is generally not used to explain this world enough. It's projection. Projects. What is projected? The Lord Himself is projecting Himself, herself. And then he's saying Tasmin Anyo, the other, that is it, like kind of that one reality fragments. And then you take a kaleidoscope and you keep turning and turning and turning and turning, and you get to the same things are combining, recombining, and appearing as. So it's funny. So it's that one reality. Once again, it's a one reality. And because if you have too many realities, it will create big problems. Uh, we now take questions.